Hi. It didn't have to be this way. Senior night, it's Rupp Arena. Most likely the last time we see Oscar Tshiebwe play basketball in Lexington. You got Vanderbilt in town, riding a big winning streak, postseason right around the corner, perfect time to keep having fun. But Kentucky let us down, losing to Vandy in the final home game in Rupp Arena for the season, 68-66. Kentucky did not shoot the ball well, but the big story that is on everyone's minds right now is the status of Cason Wallace after he went down 2 minutes into the second half and did not return with an ankle injury. Calipari said afterwards that the x-ray looked good and it just swelled up and that he's fine, but could not say when he'd be back. But right now, on a night when Kentucky lost to Vandy at home, that is on everyone's minds right now. Not exactly the reason Kentucky lost. They were losing at halftime with Wallace and losing when he went down with the injury. But Jack, before we get to what went wrong in the basketball, Wallace going down, obviously a big hit and a big concern as we're a week away from the SEC tournament.
Yeah, Kentucky went down without Xavier Wheeler. His status is who the hell knows at this point. He officially has a minor surgery will put it back 2 to 3 weeks, I guess, is the official diagnosis timeline, as John Calipari said. So Kentucky was already down 1 point guard. Then Cason Wallace goes down, and it was basically all hell breaking loose from that point on. Antonio Reeves splitting time with C.J. Frederick. A couple of garbage minutes with Adu Thero where they did things did not go well with him at all. So really kind of took Antonio Reeves out of his groove because he's used to kind of getting shots in transition and scoring and in kind of catch and shoot situations. Definitely not the case with him. C.J. Frederick battling through a cracked rib. You could look at his face. He was beat red, sweating, just worn out as all get out. Just the fact that Kentucky was in position for a shot to win the game at the end, I personally didn't see it happening, depending how things unfolded, but still in position to win that game. It was a must-win, and they were not able to make that happen. And now we must rely on luck and fate to see where the SEC standings line up.
And even though they played the last 18 minutes of the game without a true point guard, like Jack said, Wheeler not here. That's its own issue. But Wallace being out, it's hard to use that as an excuse when Vanderbilt was leading. Vanderbilt's best player, that's all we've heard about going into this game. He went out 3 minutes into the game, so both teams were without, I guess you could say, their best player. So it's hard to use that as an excuse. But right now, this affects seeding. We'll figure that out with the math. There's still more results, what it does for Nashville, what it does for the tournament. But there's just this cloud hovering with Wallace and his exit. And it's almost like, as much as we want to be mad about the game, it's hard to even think about anything with him and what it could mean for the tournament.
Yeah, if Cason Wallace is out for even more than one game, that's going to spell very, very bad news for Kentucky. As you saw out there, Adu Thero was just simply not ready to play these type of point guard minutes right now. It was coming over the last couple of games. Today, Vanderbilt pressed him the second he got the ball, and he just couldn't handle it. C.J. Frederick is not exactly a pure point guard as well. Antonio Reeves did his best, but still had a couple of bonehead turnovers where he just threw the ball where he wasn't looking. Obviously not a great shooting night for him, but he had a lot of weight on his shoulders there in the second half. So the backcourt rotation is really thinning out here at the worst possible time. Like Drew said, Liam Robbins was even out. Oscar had one of his better games of the season, 21 and 20. He hit 10 of 15 free throws. The entire game plan at the end was just to feed it to him because Vanderbilt had no way of stopping him, but there was just not enough help from everyone else to get them to that point. And you know, when you don't have your future lottery pick player in the game, it obviously makes things a little bit different, and that's what we saw tonight.
So we're worried about Wallace, obviously. That's the whole season, really, if he's out much longer. But as I was saying, even with Wallace tonight, I mean, Kentucky went 3 of 19 from 3, shot 32% from the field, bad at the free throw line. I'm not convinced they win it with a healthy Wallace, which is so frustrating right now.
Yeah, and every team is due. We've seen this team have games like this, and that was kind of the excuse earlier on is this team's going to be able to fix it and turn things around whenever shots start to fall. And that was kind of like they had the open looks all game long. All season long, we've seen the open looks, but sometimes they just go cold at the worst possible time. And to Jerry Stackhouse's credit, I thought he put on a coaching clinic. He called his shot after the Florida win at the podium, said, I'm confident in my dudes to go into Rupp Arena and come home with a win. Ballsy for a dude that has never beaten John Calipari, has never beaten Kentucky. They haven't won 14 straight games against Kentucky. He's 0-8 against the Wildcats. So for him to call his shot at this point, at this time of the season, and then you lose his best player 4 minutes into the game. I thought he did an excellent job, drew up a lot of great plays for his shooters. I remember we kind of joked about this leading up to it, that John Calipari said that this is a Vanderbilt team that does a great job of drawing up plays for three-point. One of the only teams that draws up shots for three-point shooters. And we're like,
novel concept.
isn't that supposed to be every team in college basketball does that? But they did it extremely well, and to his credit, he called a shot.
Well, let me build off that.
Yeah, go ahead.
Kentucky pretty much took all of their shots today from the mid-range, and Calipari said after the game that was by design. That's kind of how they were, going about it. That's what Vanderbilt was giving them. And you saw what happens when you live by the jump shot, you die by the jump shot. And that's what you saw tonight when a team like Kentucky, when they're just not hitting 15, 16-footers, that's just going to be your ball game pretty easily. And another team doesn't even have to play that well to beat you if you're not going to hit your clean open shots. And most of them, like Jack was saying, they were wide open. A lot of those shots, especially early on, they were just missing them. So that's going to kill your game. If you're taking too many long twos, that's just how it ends.
I wasn't going to go down this avenue, but someone in the press conference asked Cal, over half of your team's shots were mid-range, and he, that's not really what I think most people want. He's like, that's what we do. Of course that's what we do, and that's just one of the frustrations to hear. Same with the comment you brought up where he said Vanderbilt's the one team that tries to get threes. That's not the case. Lots of teams tries to get threes, but we're not going to keep complaining about Cal. I will complain that Vanderbilt's threes kept going in, and they were a bunch of crap. The Jordan Wright, good game for him. Not trying to be a hater, but 4 for 4. Where did that come from? He hadn't been hitting threes all year. It's like in Nashville when Malik Dia hit 4 or 5. He hadn't played ever since. So even though Vandy played well, as you said, Stackhouse called a great game. It was one of those where in Rupp Arena there was a lot of garbage thrown up and going into.
There was one that hit the back of the rim.
Yeah, and just kind of
fade away last second. Like he was going at least 3 or 4 feet behind the line. Just died on the back of the rim and trickles its way in. That was
pop a shot.
Yeah,
it
you would have rather
like
just had a dog
nights.
poop on the floor out here. You'd almost rather that happen.
The dog poop. Yeah, Louisville took care of that one, but it was bad beat after bad beat, and they just kept adding up, and it eventually just feels like it's not going to be Kentucky's night. One thing that I think really could have made it Kentucky's night, and I don't want to pick on him because he had a great game, but when Oscar was just destroying Vanderbilt's third-string center, and it's 66-66. I don't even know if the shot clock was on. There's 20-something seconds in the game. I did not like Reeves' little floater with Oscar down here right by the rim when you need a bucket. He was 4 of 17 tonight, Reeves, another big part of why Kentucky just couldn't get it going.
Well, and that's, I guess, one of my biggest frustrations is in a game that Kentucky is struggling the way that it is shooting the ball from the mid-range, from deep. Nobody's getting hot. I mean, it's not Antonio Reeves' night. It's not C.J. Frederick's night. Jacob Toppin's not making shots. When everything else is failing around Oscar Tshiebwe and he continues to dominate the game, and very poorly officiated game. Just it felt like there were 8,000 fouls called. When that happens, when Doug Schau's crew sets up the absolute just layup for Oscar Tshiebwe to go for 80 and 50, why do we not continue to feed Oscar Tshiebwe? You got them in foul trouble I think at the last minute and a half. 3 players in the game for Vanderbilt had 4 fouls. How do you not use that opportunity to just attack, draw fouls, put Oscar Tshiebwe on the free throw line, just dominate? They had 5 guards out there at one point because they literally had no big men left. How do you not look at that and just decide to say, all right, Oscar Tshiebwe, you win us this game like he did against I'm drawing a blank. He did it against Georgia in the second half, but Yale was the second half.
Yale,
why do we not get that opportunity? He still goes for 21 points and 20 rebounds, a 20-20 effort. Still not enough. It could have been even better for Oscar Tshiebwe. It's just a shame he didn't get the touches.
It makes it so disappointing that Kentucky shot 35 free throws. Oscar is going against their third-string center that has a man bun, which is a known fact. That takes away from your game if you have a man bun. Oscar had that stretch, so important, where he got the offensive rebound, the dunk, and then blocked the ball into the dude's nose. I think he gave that guy a concussion, and you're thinking, this is the swing. Oscar on senior night just made the plays. And then just didn't work out for the Cats. We could sit here and gripe about it all night, but really with 1 game left going to Arkansas, a tough task. It's really at this stage about just what mindset and what team will show up in Nashville, and then more importantly, the week after that. It's tournament time coming up, Zach, and I don't know about you. I'll admit right now, I'm not feeling great. With watching Wallace roll around, Wheeler, we don't even know where he is. I'm not feeling good about the Cats right now. Did tonight's loss do anything either direction for you, or is it kind of, it is what it is right now?
It really all just depends on what happens with Cason Wallace, because I think if he comes back, Kentucky will still end up going back to how they've been playing over the last 4 games. I think ultimately if Cason was in, they probably would win this game. But I thought the senior day ceremonies, at least beforehand, were kind of fun. We didn't really address that much, but Oscar got his big, loud reception from him, and it was nice to see all those guys go through. But
another part of it stinging losing tonight.
Jacob Toppin
Not supposed to lose on senior.
Jacob Toppin was taking this loss especially hard. He went out of his way multiple times in the radio presser and the post-game pressers back there, pretty much saying that the loss was on him. So he was not very pleased with himself and kind of his attitude in the first half. And it was just kind of an encapsulation of how things were going tonight. Just everyone seemed upset with themselves. Everyone was kind of taking blame for the loss. So I guess that's nice to see. But on senior night, your seniors taking blame for it. But
we didn't mention Toppin, but his streak snapped to double-digit scoring. So that's
stopped
another
at 12.
reason he's down. Jack, how are you feeling heading into Nashville next? Well, I'll give you a chance to say they're going to win at Arkansas. How are you feeling heading into Fayetteville, then Nashville, then in whatever city you end up in the big bracket?
Weird kind of 40 chess move tonight, just big picture thinking here. Vanderbilt kind of weirdly helped Kentucky's resume tonight. Very oddly, they've won 7 of their last 8 now. This was a quad 1 win for them. They were 85 in the net going into this one. If they jump up to 75 in the net, it becomes a quad 2. Right now it's a quad 3. Terrible for the Cats. But it could jump to a quad 2 loss. But that win down in Nashville earlier could become a quad 1, which could give, if depending on how Auburn closes out the regular season, there are a bunch of different moving parts that could potentially give Kentucky a fairly solid resume, even considering this loss. The loss might have actually helped their resume, weirdly, considering obviously you never want, you take the momentum more than anything else, and this is definitely not it's just kind of like one of those maybe kind of sacrifice type deals. I don't know. It's just one thing I was thinking about before when the game wrapped up. But not feeling great about Kentucky's chances down in Arkansas. I thought Kentucky could win if they had if they had Cason Wallace. Cal's still kind of iffy about that. If they don't have Cason, I don't like Kentucky's chances at all. Like Zach said, it all depends on what happens with him. If he is out for a prolonged period, I don't know how long this run lasts.
Kentucky basketball was back, and it was so fun just like 3 hours ago. Then Vandy comes to town, Cason Wallace missteps, and here we are wondering what's next. Obviously, the most important thing is getting Cason Wallace in a uniform and back on the basketball court. That's really all that matters. But for the KSR Rapid Reaction, for the last time from Rupp Arena in 2023, Drew Franklin, Jack Pilgrim, Zach Gagan, Cason Wallace, please come back soon. Go Cats.